everyone. This is Michael Munson with Forge. I'm glad that you have joined me today to talk about becoming a trans welcoming agency in 10 easy and free steps. Of course, we know that it's not quite so simple, but we wanted to offer something different than an in-depth training and something that is really accessible and offers people something that's really practical in what you can do to make a difference in trans survivors' lives. So quicker than normal and really intended to be action oriented. Let me do a quick share of who Forge is. I know many of you already have this info, so you can fast forward. Forge is a 26-year-old trans anti-violence agency. We are national in scope. Most of us, or some of us, are headquartered in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We do a little bit of local work here in Wisconsin, mostly with trans survivors and loved ones. But the majority of our work, around 75% of it, is national in scope and is training and technical assistance for victim service providers and allied professionals. So for therapists, for advocates, for law enforcement, for that, a whole group of folks that have interactions with trans communities and with trans survivors in particular. You can find us on social media at our Forge Facebook, our main page, or we have several other kind of sub pages that are more specific. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram, and also on YouTube, where you're probably viewing this webinar. We are grateful to our funders who are allowing us to do this 6-part series. So this is, I'm not sure if this is video number 2, but we're grateful for them to support this work. As always, I want to remind folks to take care of yourself. This should be a pretty non-traumatic webinar today, because we're really focusing on action steps and things you can do. But we know that sometimes things come up for folks, and we really encourage you to take care of yourself in whatever way that means to you. So our agenda is really simple. Usually there's a long laundry list on the agenda page, but today the agenda is 10 free things that you can do. So I wanted to frame our 10 free things with the concept of micro-inclusion. So again, many of you who have been on a Forge training have seen this slide and know what we're talking about, but micro-inclusions are basically the opposite of microaggressions. So micro-inclusions are small steps to include someone. Or on a bigger scale, micro-inclusions are symbolic actions that force us to recall the humanity of others. Throughout today's webinar, you'll see many photos. All of the photos we, of course, have permission to use. All of the photos have one or more trans people in them, and many of them are survivors themselves. So this is one of my favorite photos taken a couple years ago when a bunch of us got together and talked about victimization and what we can do, and it was just a lovely several-day gathering. I won't bore you with some of the other photos, but they're all quite charming, I think. So number one thing that's free and easy to do is around name and pronouns. So we want to make sure that we introduce ourselves to people when we meet them, when we first meet our clients. And we want to share our name and our pronouns, and we want to invite or encourage folks to also share their name of use and the pronouns that they would like to be referred to. At least with you in that situation. So many of us are getting more and more familiar with this process because it's becoming more and more common. So if I would, for example, introduce myself to somebody new, I would say, hi, my name is Michael, and I use he, him, and his pronouns. What's your name, and what pronouns can I use with you? Really simple 2 sentences that allows us to engage in that conversation and open the door, which lets people know that we're trans inclusive and that we're mindful that we can't tell what somebody's name or pronouns are based on just looking at them. I've got a couple of videos embedded within this presentation that I think will make things more exciting and are also quite fun. So I'm going to share with you a video that is really fun and interesting. It's from cut.com, and it's part of a series of the one word playlist. So in this video, it's asking a whole bunch of trans people what the word pronoun means to them.
pronoun.
You can call me he, you can call me she, you can call me Regis and Kathy Lee.
Simple. Pronouns are not hard, but people's understanding of them apparently is.
Simple.
Simple. You know, I just feel like I'm not stabbing myself in the leg every 7 days with testosterone for them to call me she.
Respect. I think it's always important to ask someone what they use, what honors them, and to use that.
Gender, the way people look, isn't necessarily descriptive of who they are inside.
Difficult. As someone who considers themselves non-binary, I have a lot of trouble interacting with people who've never interacted with someone who uses they, them pronouns.
When people hear that I use he, she, and they pronouns, I think they get a little bit nervous, because what if they start using one pronoun and then they say a different pronoun in the next sentence? Then everyone will think they messed up.
He, she, it, they, it's just a word.
I don't like it when people call me a he. I feel like they need to be corrected right on the spot.
When someone knows about my fluidity and chooses a pronoun that resonates well with me in that moment, yay.
Key to educate oneself about who you let into your life and how they want to be identified.
Useful. If anything, I'd be more hung up on the need some people feel to attach preferred. That could give people an inaccurate idea of what being trans is, because my pronouns aren't preferred, they just are, because my gender's not, you know, a desire that I have or like a wish or something. It's who I am. It's just part of me.
Useful. I mean, it's easier to talk to somebody when they know how to address you.
Feel good about pronouns. It feels great to have the ability to choose your own pronouns.
Constant. That is a thing that I constantly have to fight for. All my friends and family are on board, so I don't have to worry so much. But I always worry about what pronouns strangers are using for me in their heads, which is really just a silly thing I should not even be thinking about.
Individuality. Given they might not know how to address you unless you tell them, or if they ask and you answer them.
I would say patience would be the word I think of. When somebody uses my pronoun, I don't get angry, I just re-correct them and help them really understand, the importance of how misusing somebody's pronoun could be offensive.
Identity, and you better get it right. In the workplace, people who persistently misgender you are actually guilty of sexual harassment. So what's more important, how you see me or respecting how I see me?
So excellent. Was that a fun video or not? I'm hoping you're all saying yes, because I can't see you. So yes would be a good answer. This is just one out of many videos, and we encourage you to, check out other videos on pronouns if that is something that would be helpful to get you more comfortable with engaging with asking people's pronouns and sharing yours. So the reminder, of course, is that we aren't going to know what somebody's name is, what their pronouns are, if we don't ask. And again, we encourage you to share yours as both an example and as a way of kind of normalizing asking. And we encourage you to ask everyone, because we don't know who's trans, we don't know who's not, and pronouns and names matter to everyone. So the next free and easy thing to do is to have inclusive literature. And this can mean a whole bunch of different things. If you have a brick and mortar office, you may want to be able to have something in your rack card display that will resonate with trans folks. If you have a desk at a brick and mortar office, you may want to have a file that has some brochures in it that are trans specific that you can hand to your client. many different ways of having inclusive literature, but we encourage you to have something that is trans specific. You can obviously make your own, or we can send you some. So making your own can be simple things like having, black and white printed out of your printer, whatever it is that shows trans clients that you know they exist and that you want to serve them well. I'm going to share with you a couple examples of what we can send you. So it costs you nothing, and it gives you free and ready information to hand out to your trans clients. So one of my favorite handouts that we have is a little palm card that's "I'm here for you." And it's not exactly designed for victim service providers, but it can be used with victim service providers. So on the front, there's just a little bit of information about trans survivors. And on the back is this lovely little list. It's a kind of a preformed list that shares what you'd be willing to do for that trans survivor. So we're finding that this is a really useful card within community groups or within people that are in the circle of friendship with trans folks. But we also know that it's really useful in provider-client interactions. So request and you'll receive from us. Another resource that we have on hand, but it was designed initially with in partnership with Futures Without Violence, is this tiny little palm card which kind of unfolds. It's very cool. It's got some hand-drawn trans-affirming art in it, but it's about creating healthy relationships, and it's definitely trans-specific. So again, we can send them to you, or the link on the slide will send you to Futures Without Violence, and you can order directly from them. We have other handouts that are about self-help guides. So there are 4 long version guides that are very useful to trans survivors. So we have a rack card that has all of that information on it that we can send to you. Similarly, we have smaller palm cards, and we've done many in different kind of versions of what the front looks like, but the back has almost identical information. Again, sharing with survivors links to things that would be useful to them as trans survivors. We'd also be happy to send you a really simple trifold brochure. Again, something great if you have a rack card that you can just place it as one of many things that you have for survivors to pick and choose from. So number 3 is about being survivor-centered. So this is something that I know all of us try to do, is to stay survivor-centered. So I love this image that says focus on hearts, not parts. So when we're working with trans clients, we want to make sure that we're focusing on why they're there, what their heart is saying and feeling, what their brains are thinking and feeling, and not so much on their body or their parts. So you might be wondering why I'm bringing up a concept that was developed in the 1940s. So the concept of master status was defined by Everett Hughes, again, in the 1940s. And then a few years later, in 1954, Gordon Allport, in his book, The Nature of Prejudice, labeled it the label of primary potency. So a lot of these words are like, kind of abstract and difficult to understand. So let me read you something that's also complex that tries to explain what these concepts are. So both terms refer to the tendency of observers to believe that one label or one demographic category is more significant than any other aspect of the observed person's background, behavior, or performance. So that's a big mouthful, right? It's a lot of things, but it's actually a pretty simple concept. So this was developed in a race-oriented framework or paradigm of looking at how people assigned certain things based on what race someone was or is. So I'm sharing this with you today because a lot of times what happens is that when a provider sees or knows that a client is transgender, they decide that everything that that client is talking about or bringing into the office is about that person's transgender status or history. So somebody might be coming into the office for something that is totally unrelated to their transness, but they might disclose that they're trans. And it's our job as providers to not latch on to their trans identity and say that everything is, as a result of their identity, everything is related or correlated or caused by their transness. We want to stay focused on who they are, what they're there for, what they need right now. So let me give you an example. So this is a master status example, a label of primary potency example. So a buddy of mine on social media posted, "I'm having surgery tomorrow." And this was a trans guy. And, people responded with like, "Oh, congratulations. Oh, that's so cool. Like, I'm so excited for you." And all of the reactions were like, "Yay, yay. This is really, really, really great." The reality was that this person was having his leg amputated. So everyone assumed that he was having trans affirming surgery because they knew he was trans. But really, he had a serious medical issue that resulted in his leg being amputated. So this is one of the dangers, that when we go with what we think is true for somebody, it may not be what their reality is. So we don't want to be nosy and ask a lot of questions, but we want to make fewer assumptions based on the facts that we know. We want to get the facts from the person rather than making the assumptions about what we think might be going on for them. Actually, let me just make a comment. The last two slides had art images from Ravi Conover, and I just want to express my gratitude for his images and his beautiful art that he shared and has allowed us to use. So we're going to take a pause, and I'm going to set some music so that you can do this exercise if you'd like, and have kind of the music as the timer, just like we were playing what's the game with the chairs, and you sit down when the music stops. I'd like you to think about a list that you can brainstorm about what agencies and individuals can do to be more survivor-centered. So if you're a person that likes to write things down, you can take a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, and do what can agencies do and what can individuals do. You can talk about it with a colleague. You can think about it in your head. So we'll give you about 3 to 5 minutes to reflect on that, and then we'll resume in a few minutes. Great. Thank you for doing that exercise and thinking it through. And if you are so moved, I encourage you to do that as a team remotely during COVID or in person or however your team is working to think about what things you can do. So let's talk about bathroom next. So many of us know that bathrooms are kind of a hot topic within trans communities and within our culture. So we want to be really sure that victim service agencies have bathrooms that are accessible, because if someone literally cannot come into your office and use a restroom and feel safe using your restroom, they likely are not going to continue to receive services from you. So bathrooms are really important. And I'm going to share with you next another really short video that really highlights the importance of bathrooms that are affirming and allow folks to use the restroom that fits best for who they are. So you've likely seen many signs like this on bathrooms as you move through the world. I collect these signs. I think they're fun to take photos of, but there are many ways to indicate what kind of a bathroom it is. And we love when agencies have all gender restrooms. We think that it makes the world better for trans folks, and it also makes the world better for a lot of other folks, folks with disabilities, folks that have children, folks that have, aging parents, lots of different people, when there's a single stall bathroom or when there's a bathroom that is multiple stalls, but open to all genders. So we encourage you to convert any single stall bathroom that you have into an all gendered one. There's not much you need to do other than change the signage on it, and it makes life, again, better for everyone. You can make sure that you put up signs that let people know what's in that bathroom, whether it's an all gender bathroom or if it's a single binary gendered bathroom. So this sign is one that I love, and there's many different variations on this, but it literally lets people know that when they walk into this bathroom, there's going to be one stall and 2 urinals, 1 sink, and 1 mirror. So people know what they're walking into. We want to make sure that we give people non-gendered directions to restrooms. So, we can say to people, the men's room is down the hall to the left, women's room is down the hall to the right, and if you'd like an all-gender restroom, it is downstairs on the 2nd floor. So you've given people all of the options that they can choose what is best for them. We can also offer our clients accompaniment. This is a photo that I absolutely love. It was taken at Milwaukee Pride Fest several years ago, and we did a program called Bathroom Buddies. So people would feel uncomfortable heading into these really huge bathroom stalls at this open-aired event place that has, probably, 50 stalls in each of the restrooms, and people would feel really intimidated and uncomfortable. And so we started a program that was Bathroom Buddies, and we would have people wear these little flags that indicated that they were a bathroom buddy. So anybody could walk up to somebody that had that flag and say, hey, would you walk with me to the bathroom? And they would. So it was a really simple way. Now, we know that that's not going to translate to victim service providers. But what translates is the idea of being able to walk down the hallway with somebody, or say, hey, I'll be with you. I'll stand outside the bathroom and wait till you're done, and we'll walk back together. So just a reminder that you can help people feel more comfortable by literally moving through the world with them and waiting for them as they use the restroom. There are 2 accompanying resources that I'd like to share with you that are Forge resources. One is another one of the webinars in this series of 6 called Bathrooms, Bullies, and Bystanders, Supporting Trans Survivors. So I encourage you, if you want to look more deeply at bathroom issues, to watch that video. The other one is one of the tip sheets in a series of shelter tip sheets that talks about creating trans-inclusive bathrooms within shelters. The 5th free and easy thing that you can do is to create gender integrated services, or at least consider what it would be like to have gender integrated services. So let me remind folks, let me remind you of why it's important to have or move towards creating and facilitating all gender groups and all gender services. I think all of us will recognize that all survivors deserve access to support, and that includes support that involves other people. Having all gender services really reduces stigma, and it allows people to interact with each other in ways that single gender services may not quite facilitate. More survivors will seek services if it's all gender, specifically more trans survivors, and more non-binary survivors will seek services. And to bring in the law, it's also the law for many agencies that are funded by certain federal funding streams that there's not a discrimination around the gender or sex of the service that's being provided. So I'd like you to think about your own mini checklist of, if you provide support groups, is it gender integrated? If you provide shelter, is it gender integrated? If you have bathrooms in your facility, what is their genderedness? Are they gender integrated? What is the composition of your staff and board and volunteers and advisory committees like? Do they include folks of all genders? What is your organizational name like? Does it indicate that your services are gender integrated, or does it indicate that it's for a single gender? What else might be on your checklist to make your agency more gender integrated? So this sounds like it may be a little bit more than being free and easy, but a lot of the things to implement these things are free and they're relatively easy to do. Let me share with you a quote about all gender groups. The quote says, "All gender groups create a wider understanding that this violence can happen to anyone and everyone, and we all need a place to get and give support. I think people feel stronger knowing they can show up for people different from themselves. It humanizes the experience." So a couple of resources that we've created that might be supporting you in creating gender integrated services are a set that's about support groups for sexual assault survivors. So there's a webinar and there's a guide. And then when we're looking at shelters, there's a bunch of material that's created around gender integrated shelters. So one is a guide that shares the experiences of people that have created gender integrated shelters. And the other one is a part of, it is a series of 8 tip sheets that really talk about very specific aspects of becoming more gender integrated within your shelter. So number 6, free and easy thing to do. And this is one of my favorite things, and I think it's a lot of the favorite things of folks that hear me talk about some of the free and easy things that you can do, is to include trans issues in your social media. So this can be reposting something that somebody else has posted. It can be setting up something that's specific to your organization that you can schedule in something like Hootsuite or Buffer or a Facebook scheduler. Let me share with you just some of the examples that we think are pretty fantastic. And there are more and more of them, and this is just a small sample. So this was designed by a DV group, and the slide just says, because everyone has a right to a healthy relationship, DVRP serves and supports all survivors. So this was something that they posted in June, which is Pride Month. It certainly is indicative of LGBT folks, not just trans folks, but it's a cool social media post. Another social media post is from No More, and it says, "Let's not waste this transgender moment," in quotes, the transgender moment. No more violence against transgender people. There are groups like End Rape on Campus who have this really simple hashtag Trans Lives Matter and the pride flag colors behind it. So really simple messaging, but it does send a strong message to people that are looking at their social media. The Boston Area Rape Crisis Center does phenomenal work in just so many incredible ways. This happened to be put out a couple of years ago by their executive director, Gina, and she writes this quote on their social media that says, "For members of the transgender community, know that you're not alone, that we will advocate with and for you, and that BARC is a resource for you." So again, a really simple message, but it goes a long way. NNEDV, which many of us are familiar with as, a big powerhouse, notes that being trans is part of your beauty. So it's a really simple message. New Mexico Coalition has this really simple message too that is about protect trans friends with a heart. Planned Parenthood has done an incredible job of being trans inclusive and trans focused in their social media. So this particular slide is proud to provide care for her, him, them, you, and all. So just a beautiful reminder of who they serve. And another last example from the Boston Rape Crisis Center has this nice little megaphone that says, are you a transgender survivor of sexual violence? Your story matters. So these are really simple things that you can program and make sure that trans survivors know that you exist and you exist for them. So we've done a couple of toolkits that are easy for folks to share. So I'm just using these as examples for you, but you can make your own toolkit. You can find other toolkits that you like. But the two toolkits that I'm sharing with you on the screen right now have everything that you need in them. They've got images that are sized for Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. They have the text that you can post. They have an image description. Way you go. All you have to do is post it. So we encourage you to do that to send a good, strong message to trans survivors. The seventh free and easy thing that you can do is include non-gendered language or gender inclusive language that anybody can take part in and hear themselves in. So like we did a few minutes ago, I'd like to take a few moments of reflection for you to think about and brainstorm alternatives to gendered language. We have gendered language in everything that we hear every day. I mean, it's impossible to even go a few minutes without hearing a gendered reference. So I'd like you to think about what are some words that you can use instead. So some of the examples of words that are gendered are things like she and he and some of the typical pronouns that we hear. Or references to people in our families. So dads and uncles and wives. There might be forms of reference like sir or ma'am. So think about those words that are gendered and brainstorm for a few minutes. I'll play some music so that you'll know when to stop to think about what some alternatives are to those words. That was fun, right? To come up with some gender expansive words. So I wanted to share with you, this is, kind of building off of one of the other points about social media, but this is a great example of gender neutral terms to address a group of people. So, on this list are things like y'all or peepadoodles. That's something that I would never say, but peepadoodles works for some people, or peeps, or humans, or dogs. Again, not everybody's going to want to use all this language. Beautiful people, folks, kids or kiddos, everyone, friends, Homo sapiens, change makers. So again, not everybody's going to feel comfortable using all of those words, but you might feel some resonance with some of them. So when referring to a group of people, think about using one of those words or come up with something that's fitting for you. Number 8, free and easy thing to do is to keep learning. Forge is a learning-based organization. We care deeply about staff development, about staying current on current issues. And so maybe we're a little bit biased about this point, but we really strongly encourage people to keep learning. And again, this might be about learning about transgender issues, transgender survivors. It might be learning more about disability, about immigration, about race, about age, about different religions, whatever it is that you need to learn more about, we encourage you to learn. And in our world right now, especially during COVID, there are so many opportunities for learning that are free, that are so accessible in so many different ways. So we really encourage you to figure out what it is that you need to learn more about, that you want to learn more about, and go find that. Number 9 is engaging. And this is a multiple suggested example of what you can do that's free and easy. So when we're engaging with folks, let's think about our body language. And I know, again, with COVID right now, this is a little bit different. But on the screen is a law enforcement officer with a young person. And you can see that the law enforcement person is not standing and towering down over the younger person, but literally sitting on the ground on the pavement with him. So think about, if you're in the same office space with somebody, even if you're socially distanced in the same office space or the same environment, what is your body language like? Is your body literally open to listening and hearing what that person is saying to you? Do you have your arms crossed? What message does that say? So think about literally how your body is presenting to somebody else and what that message is that they receive from where and how your body is, and how, if you change your body movement or your body position, if it changes the interaction that you're having with somebody, positively or negatively. The second kind of mini component of this is around eye contact. So many times trans folks literally feel not seen, they feel erased. And making eye contact can be really profound in literally saying to people, I see you. I know that sometimes trans survivors don't want to look people in the eye, may bow their head a little bit, but we want to make sure that we as providers can make that eye contact and say, you're good, I see you, I'm here with you, I'll listen to you, I'll listen to the hard stuff with you. And I'm not going to look away. I don't need to look away because I accept all of you. So that simple thing of eye contact and body language will help bring that relationship into a stronger place. The third component of this is around touch. And obviously we're living in a world right now where basically no one is touching anyone. And I also am very careful in saying touch with consent when that's appropriate and when we can touch each other again post-COVID. So when we would normally offer a client a hug or put our hand on their back, again, if that's consensual and okay with somebody, think about if we would do the same with trans clients. The answer should be automatically yes. But again, just kind of like the eye contact and being seen, a lot of times trans people feel incredibly touch deprived, incredibly erased in their identity and their existence, because people are not willing and wanting to engage in that physical consensual contact. So again, think about how touch plays a role in your profession, in the way that you tend to work with clients that are survivors, and make sure that that extends to the trans and non-binary clients that you're working with. And the 10th thing of the last of the 10 free and easy things that you can do is around kindness. And I know this sounds really soft, but it's super, super, super important. When we can reach out and be kind to our clients, to the survivors that we work with, it really sends an incredible message of hope, of healing, of love. And I mean that in all of the positive, good, encompassing ways that love is meant. But it can do so much more for a client than sometimes offering them practical tools. To know that they are cared for in a kind way really, really, really goes a long way. And this poor picture of me and my friend Sid has gotten a lot of airtime, but to me, it embodies kindness when I think of the kindness of someone. So, hug people when you can, show your kindness to people when and how you can, whatever that looks like for you. Let me share a couple of quick resources to move us away from the more touchy-feely to a little bit more heady. So just a couple of resources for you to gain some more information. I encourage folks to check out the self-assessment checklist. This has many things that are also free and easy for your agency to think about doing. It may stimulate your thoughts about what you may want to change or not change in your agency, do more of, do less of. And then let me share with you a little bit about what we can offer you from Forge that might help you be more trans-inclusive and better supporting of your clients. So we do a lot of training and technical assistance, and that can mean one-on-one support. So drop us an email, give us a call, and we will help work with you to resolve any challenge or issue that you might be having with folks. Check out the publications that we have at our website, check out the recorded webinars, engage with us for a training that's specific to your agency or the population that you work with. We oftentimes do very tailored trainings for folks. So reach out to us and we'll see if we can work with you on providing that. We really look forward to the days when we can go back to conferences. I know that I personally miss being at conferences with people and training live. I also miss doing things like in-person site visits, but there are some ways that we can do some site visits remotely as well. We also work on areas of policy as well as collaborations with folks. And we care about making sure that folks have information and referrals to other resources and other providers that are trans aware and trans specific. So reach out to us if you'd like to have any of those conversations. Want to remind folks too that our website address has been on every one of the slides. So we encourage you to check out our website, which has many of those resources that I just mentioned and a whole bunch of other things. And I also encourage folks to connect with us on social media. We like having friends and we like being able to share and exchange ideas. And one of the best ways that we're doing that lately seems to be on social media. That's where the action is happening. So find us on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or on YouTube, and we will try to like you back. And that's a way that we can share what's new and what's upcoming and some good practical tips. If you'd like to reach me directly, you can email me at mmunson@forge-forward.org, and I'd be happy to engage with you about any of these 10 free and easy tips or anything else that comes to mind for you. I want to thank you for spending a short time with us today and thinking about how to make your agency and your practice more inclusive and welcoming to transgender survivors. We know that it takes a bit of commitment and a bit of thought, But I hope that today has helped you realize that some of the things are really not so hard and are free, and free is always a good thing. So thanks for spending time, and we look forward to seeing you or being with you next time.